Hi everybody, welcome back to the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and this is just a very short video on how to rescue a locomotive that may have stopped working, but doesn't actually have a problem necessarily. And so what do I mean by that? Okay, so in front of you right now is a one and only on my layout is a Canadian Pacific. It's an RS, I believe it's -3, and you may recognize it from a previous video because I showed you how to do a two-piece decoder for some of these older Atlas models. This has been a very interesting locomotive ever since I've owned it. It was actually the first locomotive from Atlas that I ever purchased, and right when I got out of my Bachmann stage. And so it's been around for a very, very, very long time, and it doesn't make it out onto the road very often because, well, it doesn't really fit the layout, and either time frame or road. So, but I do like it. It's one of the only RS3s that I own, and so every now and then it's nice to break it out and run it around, especially when it's pushing the Canadian Pacific snowplow. Okay, so first thing to do when you get a dead locomotive like this is check to make sure that you are getting power to the locomotive. And the easiest way I know to do that is turn on the headlight. And there it is. So there's the headlight, and it switches, as you change the direction of the locomotive. So it appears to be working just fine. And this locomotive, the reason why it's been sort of unique on my line is that it has always been very, very loud. And I've cleaned it, I've taken the gears apart, I've oiled it, and I can find no issue with it. So I just don't know why it does what it does. But in any event, I turned it on and it didn't really go anywhere. It sort of stuttered and stopped, stuttered and stopped. So the first thing is, oh, maybe it somehow got dirty, even though it hasn't been, running around. Well, that wasn't the case. So what I did was, after going through the usual, checking the gears, checking the wheels, checking everything, I thought, well, it's obviously reading the decoder because I can send commands to it, right? And but something's wrong with the motor. So if the motor's not in use, how could it have gone bad necessarily? So real quick, I just gave the motor just a quick turn, and lo and behold, it's back to life. So what did I learn from this? One, it hasn't run in a long time. Two, this little guy did not have enough power to overcome probably whatever gunk or grease or whatever. Basically, it's seized in place. And so now, having given that motor a manual turn, and there was no resistance whatsoever, but it was just enough, and now it's back. So I've cleaned the wheels. I'm going to put it on the track, and let me show you what she's doing now. Okay, so before you give up on that locomotive and send it back for repairs or take it apart and all that sort of thing, let's go through a couple of things. One, check your decoder. Make sure your decoder is reading, and you can do this simply by turning on a sound function, turning on a light, something that will give you an indication that there is power getting to the locomotive. If there's not, check your wheels. Make sure that your wheels are clean. Check your connections between your decoder and your chassis. Make sure that your electrical pickups are all touching, and of course, make sure your track power is on. If you've got something that's isolated or you just don't have the track power on, always check to make sure you're plugged in first. And then after that, take a look and see if your locomotive has been sitting for a while. Maybe it's a little gunky, maybe it's a little built up inside with just crap, and it needs cleaned out. Once you clean it out, that it's going to give the motor enough freedom to start turning again. And then two, or three, I guess at this point, double check the programming. Just make sure if all else fails, run the decoder through a factory reset. Get yourself back to your address of 03 and try it from there. So if the decoder's been reset, you got a good electrical contact, you've cleaned the motor, you've given the motor a little manual turn to make sure everything's running, and it's still not coming on, you might have a dead locomotive. But if you've gone through all those things, somewhere along the line, you may start to see some life come back into your locomotive. So clean it up, get it re-oiled, get it back in operational condition, especially if it's like mine, it's been sitting for a while. So real simple tips, but If they're not things you think about, you could very easily get frustrated, and just put the thing aside and never pull it out of the box again, which would be a shame. So give those tips a try, and if you're still having issues after trying those, feel free to leave some comments below. I'll see if I can help you out.